What's good, everybody? Hope y'all are doing well and staying safe. So the time has finally come for me to go ahead and release the build or the loadout altogether that I used for my mag run. We didn't get 100 hours. I was shooting for that, but then the goal turned into forever in a year because we saw acolytes didn't stop scaling, and well, I got a little carried away with the excitement on that and I did a 24-hour stream. So here we are. Anyways, we did get 95 hours, 28 minutes, so extremely happy with that overall. I am nowhere near a perfect mag, regardless of the time you see there. I did die 2 times. I had Djinn res me about, I don't know, 20 plus times, and I also missed 4 acolytes. So I'm nowhere near perfect. There's a massive amount of room for improvement as me as a player, but I was at least able to get it done after 5 years of working on the frame and 2,500 plus hours. So very happy with it overall, very happy. The main purpose of this loadout was to get just enough kills per hour to never use O2 capsules. After that, I was focusing on reducing time to kill on the acolytes as a whole. The reason why I use cores and snare is predominantly just to crowd control acolytes, but if you are learning mag, it's a very good learning tool, so don't be afraid to use it whenever you feel you need it. The reason why, though, I chose the 3 over the rest of the abilities was the pull is my vacuum, essentially. Even though I do run vacuum, that is a much longer ranged vacuum, so I take advantage of using that because it makes looting significantly safer. And her 4 is just a very reliable crowd control, and every time it hits, it also regens shields, so it makes for a perfect lineup for whenever you get shield gating. The shards that I used were 2 casting speed, 2 energy max, and 1 primary status. The primary status is interchangeable. Just note though that it will give you 100% status chance on your Plasmor. Duration and range are probably the king all and of everything, but it is overall just a well-balanced build. We use multi-augment and fortitude in order to actually gain enough power strength to increase our multiplier up to a good amount. We'll have a 3.1 base times for that, and of course, because I was in a Fisher, randomly we'll have a Fisher buff. But with that also, it'll increase the intensity of the, not just the damage multiplier, but how strong the pull-in is. So the faster mobs get to the point of where all the damage is, the faster they die, which thus gives you more kills per hour. And the higher the damage multiplier, it helps with acolyte scaling immensely. So I heavily recommend that. And duration becomes extremely important because of your ensnare. As acolytes scale, you're going to have to do more than 1 cast. So this helps prolong how long it takes before you hit full diminishing returns and have 1.5 second cast time or stun times. And range, of course, the wider your bubble is, or the more radius your bubble covers, the further it can pull mobs in, and then the intensity of it through the power strength combined gives you a significant amount more of kills per hour than you would be able to get otherwise. And also with the range, you have a further range for your pull, which makes your vacuum further, and your 4, obviously, the further the range goes out, the more shields you regen, because the more enemies you can potentially hit and the more you can control in situations where you need it. Max efficiency is one of the only things that is going to be questionable if you're going over level 10,000 acolytes, and the reason why with over 10k acolytes would be because you're going to need to cast ensnare more than 3 times, so you're going to be at the point of them actually hitting over DRs, so you're going to cast every 1.5 seconds at that rate. So you're going to be using a significant amount more energy, and your magnetize is also only going to last 1.5 seconds at that time. So that's becomes very important at that time to actually have max efficiency. Until then, you're really not you're gonna be like, well, why would I ever need this? Then you'll start feeling like why you need it. I use combat discipline to proc Arcane Avenger for a flat 45% chance to crit, so that Plasmor has over 100% crit chance. With the build that I'm actually currently using on it, which I do use critical deceleration, I think it's called. I just call it critical decel. But the reason why is because it does give the most amount of crit that you can actually have. And even though it does have a fire rate reduction, we do make that up with our Sentinel, and also for the lack of crit damage that we have. I did mod the Plasmor for corrosive cold. The corrosive is due to the fact that acolytes are weak to corrosive when they actually have armor, and cold was to give extra crit damage and a slow on mobs, essentially allowing me to have more time to respond to acolytes. Especially they have a 65% slow at 4 stacks, and everything else gets 90% at 10 stacks. The reasoning for why I have so much reload on here is because I already knew at some point I wasn't going to be able to kill acolytes with one magazine, so my burst damage no longer mattered and my sustained mattered more. And we achieved that through chilling reload, which is also our source of cold, prime tactical pump, and primary merciless. The primary merciless also giving us enough base damage to make up for the fact that we don't run Serration or anything like that. And then for savvy, we do passively get 4 statuses. If you want to have the Plasmor for magnetic, you can choose to do that too. Mine was for electric, but any element will work but heat. Heat will turn the cold into blast, and it's not as good for the situation. The main reason why I use Djinn is because he has the easiest combination of bond mods for having himself rezzed, that being Reawaken and Restorative Bond. And with you using Combat Discipline, you'll be able to pick up the energy orbs or the health orbs that you need, and with spamming Pull and your Bubble, you'll be able to pick up all the energy you need in the times that he does die. So you can get nice quick reses, so you're able to get his bond mods back to affect your primary. Now for the secondary, I use Pox because of its gas cloud effect. It allows for an easier to do magnetic stack. I can just throw a few things out, switch to my primary, keep shooting with that, and then naturally the gas clouds there will produce their own stacks. So that's why I did that. But if you do run your Plasmor with magnetic, just be aware then that you can probably mod it for other things and maybe even get more statuses out of it then. So definitely keep that in mind as a little trick that you can do. With Savvy, you're able to get a 5 status stack just passively through your Plasmor via slash, impact, radiation, cold, and corrosive. So you don't really have to worry about switching around for that at all. Zenistar on normal mobs does become overkill, but with the increase of KPH, sometimes depending on your room, it can make the difference between not having to use O2 capsules and having to use it. I did try at one point to line it up with acolytes, not so much to hit them with the debuff of viral because they're immune to it in solo play, sadly. I don't know why, it's been like that forever, so hopefully one day DE fixes that and we can have viral stacks. What I was mainly using it for was to reduce the amount of mobs around when I was dealing with acolytes and to add another status to Savvy. As for if you do need a Riven or not, it's really going to be based on you. If you do have a Riven, you're going to have a longer disc duration because you need initial combo on it, and it can go up to around 35 to 42-ish seconds, somewhere around there, maybe 45 seconds. Mine currently is at 39 seconds without a negative and a double positive, but if you don't have one, what you're going to need to do then is cast it more frequently, or your other option is to pull all the mobs in front of you, hit them with a magnetize if you want to ensnare them to play it safe, and then you can feel free to go ahead and melee them. And then once you get a 12 times multiplier, do a heavy attack and throw the disc in. It'll last for 2 minutes. Dispatch I brought just as a quality of life feature. You don't actually necessarily need it or anything. The reason why I did is because sometimes looting can get really chaotic, and it can be better to have that movement speed increase so that you can get in and out a lot faster out of like the looting area and then going back to where you're camping. But I didn't find too much of a need for that, though I will say at certain times it actually did come in handy, especially when I was trying to line it up with the acolytes, because it would allow me to cast out the Zenistar at the same time and run out there. So it's really going to be dependent for you, more or less. You can play around with it. If you don't want to run it, my recommendations would be Weeping Wounds or some type of attack speed, but at the end of the day, that's a free spot and you put it in whatever you want to. For my Specters, the reason why I went with Vault Ignis is Vault is able to give me a lot of extra bonuses, that being an additional status for Savvy, which is electric procs, and electric procs in themselves are good. Also his bonus crit multiplier via shooting through his shield, and the damage absorption that he has with his shield. So it is there's a lot of layers to why he becomes good. Also his 2 will occasionally give you increased reload, which will help increase your sustained damage for random moments of time. Just note with his shield, if he's not consistently getting shot at in some regard, he won't keep it up. So if you are killing things too fast, there can be dead points in between him keeping his shield up, which is something you may want to watch out for. Now the other 2 weapons really don't matter. I didn't know the Seer was nerfed with the headshot bonuses, and the dual Urchor I brought just to bring, because if an Acolyte does get within melee range, the Toxin procs are nice. It's an additional status, so it's a random thing that can really happen. But the Ignis is the shining part of it all, because it's a beautiful form of CC for the room that I have chosen. Just note, if your doorways are too big, it'll become less and less effective the more open the area is at which all the mobs are running to you. So it'll be very dependent on that, on how effective it'll be. But regardless, whatever direction he's pointing in, it does a good job of CCing those things there. And for Acolytes, the heat does provide a bit of additional armor stripping, or not armor stripping, but armor reduction on top of the corrosive. So it helps excel things a little bit further in that regard, on top of course, giving another status for Savvy. The other Specters that I could make some recommendations to would be the Ancient for status immunity and a 90% damage reduction for when you do go out and loot and you get a random status on you. You're able to run back to him and he'll reduce the damage by 90%. Just note, they are very, very squishy and they have a tendency to just kind of die a lot. Now the Osprey, the reason why the Osprey becomes so important is its high rate of fire helps keep down nullifiers. Its gun type is a projectile from what I can gather at least. And also I would say most importantly is the fact that the shield regen will fully regen the shields on your Warframe Spectre, thus making it so you don't have to use as many Warframe Specters. As for all the other Specters that you may have seen, they are all just within the same lines as the Osprey. It's a high rate of fire to help keep nullifiers to a minimum, except for one Spectre, which I know if I don't mention, I'm gonna have a lot of disappointment. That one Spectre being Franky, by the way. This is Franky. That's the nickname we've given him because he's worthless outside of morale boost. Okay? Worthless outside of a morale boost. Plus 300% morale boost. If you do feel you need it, feel free to go get yourself a Franky. Next time Barrow's in town, just wear that good old Nidus Prime and go get that quest. After you have done it and received all the rewards from it, which is 5 runs, you'll be able to then get the Spectre every time you finish that run. And finally, for the Tenno, which decided to bug at like 70 something hours, and I wasn't able to use him even after using Unstuck. I mean, I could use him. You were able to get like because I used Lockdown and Elevate on him. You don't really need Elevate, to be fair, but it is a little nice quality of life thing. It's just up to you. You use whatever you want, but Lockdown is needed. It's needed predominantly for when you get yourself into hairy situations and you need to get into Tenno anyways, and you can get some good CC off. But mainly for when your Acolytes go to the point where you hit diminishing returns on your ensnare, because then what you're capable of doing is getting an extra 6 seconds of CC before you have to cast ensnare again. And this is because you'll do 2 casts of Lockdown on him separately, of course, and you'll have a 4 and then a 2-second stun. After that, of course, you're going to be at 1.5. So it's good. That will be situational based on where your energy pool is at. As for the focus tree, I use Zeneric so that I can have the energy regen. As stated before, when going over 10k, you're going to have to start casting a lot more. You're also going to want any bit of extra ability strength that you can take. Any bit, it doesn't matter. You're going to take it all. That does it for the build video, though. I really want to thank you all again for coming by, showing all the love that you did during the run. I I was already having fun with the run when I was doing it off stream and recording every 5 minutes of every hour, but I cannot thank y'all enough for how great you made it. You made it better than I ever could have imagined doing the run. But definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up if you haven't already, subscribe to all the links and stuff, check all the stuff out in the description. I do have my streaming channel there, my workout/fitness channel, and also my girlfriend's channel, so definitely be sure to check all of them out. Go and give my girlfriend a subscribe, because I can honestly say at the end of the day, without her I wouldn't have been able to get this run done. So I wouldn't have been able to put all the time that I put into mag over all the years anyways, so go show some appreciation. She doesn't frequently upload, it's very casual. She allows me to do the crazy things that I do in sacrifice of that at the end of the day. So that does it for the video there. I do hope y'all take care. Stay safe, stay humble, be open, and as always, never stop searching. Peace, everybody.